Hello, friends. Can you hear me? Let's start with that. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Does the chat work? I see the chat. Hopefully it's working this time. Can you all hear me? Yay! Good news. Thank you. Finally, I'm in a different spot today because I was not comfortable up there. That was the other thing. I'm like it's a picture of chaos today. The audio, it's very echoey in here. I noticed that. It's hardwood floor, so. Okay, everything seems to be working. I'm super excited. We are going to be talking about Barbie. It was a real toss-up to the last minute. I made thumbnails for both the Chinese marriages and Barbie, but I think Barbie was up by 1% at the time that I went live, so that's what we're going to be talking about. Even though, do I really care about it? No. Yes, the good collect all rooms in Lisa's house. This is the where I eat breakfast. So yeah, we're going to talk about Barbie. I got an article. It's by a liberal feminist. It's by Andy Zeisler. She is the co-founder of BITCH magazine from Portland, Oregon, Riot Girl days. She, as far as I could tell, I did a quick look at who she is. I don't think she's ever made any comments personally about trans women one way or the other. That's sort of when someone speaks on feminism, that's kind of one of the first things that I go to. Have they ever talked about trans women? Because that is really a line of demarcation for lib fems or whatever. But even when sometimes we have read liberal feminist stuff on this channel, on these streams, and we look at it critically. So we don't always have to be reading radical feminist stuff. We can read liberal feminist stuff through a radical feminist lens and get something out of it. And, you know, don't forget that these liberal feminists, they are still feminists in a sense, right? And we do overlap with them on certain kind of basic principles in some areas, right? So Zay says, right where I'm at, I'm in Washington. So we have some ladies from the Pacific Northwest, or specifically Zay. And yeah, so I guess we'll get started with this article. Oh yeah, so, but her magazine, BITCH, which mind-blowing that someone would name a magazine that. Maybe it was different in the 90s. Maybe it was a different vibe in the 90s that a name like that would fly. I can't imagine it now. But they do definitely trans women or women in that realm. So we'll see. We'll see what she has to say about it. I actually skimmed this article a little bit, but I haven't read it word for word. So we'll be discovering it together. And then depending on time, I have a second article about how Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, has been using Barbie as a marketing tool. And some people think that she might be a contender for a presidential bid at some point. We don't know what 2024 holds. Looking like Biden's going to be the candidate right now. So, yeah. Corey says Barbie was based off a German doll named Lily Mattel. Oh, Mattel. Okay. Barbie was based off a German doll named Lily. Mattel just stole it from them to make a kid's toy, but Lily was an adult toy for men. Creepy. C says, speaking of Ice Goddess, I see a lot of libfems on the r/porn is misogyny subreddit. One comment said they would join radfem spaces if they weren't critical of trans people. So again, you know, that's one of the only female-centered subreddits that I go to or that I think is good. I don't know how many men are posting on there. I don't mean TWs. I mean actual men. There may be like some woke bros on there. I don't know. It's mostly women, and I think it's overall a very, very good subreddit. So I think that's an example of like where we actually do overlap with some of these lib fems on certain issues, right? Like some of them are able to see that porn is disempowering and things like that. So yeah. Alrighty. Barbie has never been a great symbol, but she's an excellent mirror. Hot off the presses by Andy Zeisler. She's also the author of We Were Feminists Once, From Riot Girl to Cover Girl, the buying and selling of a political movement. So that is one thing that I do like about her from just the cursory reading that I did about her in preparation for the stream, which was not much. She does seem to be pretty critical of capitalism. So let's start. Okay. The Barbie movie arrives today as the culmination of a nearly 15-year process that started when Universal Pictures acquired the rights to the character, which isn't an unusually long time in Hollywood, where scripts regularly languish and turn around until a combination of big names and deep pockets brings them to life. But Barbie's film debut also comes in the context of a much larger and more torturous journey with an existential question at its core. After all these years, does Barbie still matter? And if she does, then why? That was kind of what I was thinking when I heard that this movie was coming out. I was thinking, why? Who cares about this? Like, it's also just so. I've found the marketing explosion around this film to just be so wild. It's just like, I don't know if anyone, if you've like been on the internet in the last couple weeks, it just seems like this Barbie stuff is everywhere. Like it's in the algorithm so hard, right? So like, why is this a thing? Why, yeah. From the moment Barbara Millicent Roberts, Barbie, came on the scene in 1959, the doll was controversial. Male toy executives, conditioned to believe that little girls wanted to play with babies, were flummoxed by this representation of a fully grown woman. But little girls, as they do, understood. Barbie became a sensation, and then a lightning rod, then a concern. For the past 64 years, Barbie has been at the center of countless debates about who women are, who they should be, how they look, and what they want. It's a great comment. Lil Meow says, makes you wonder what laws Congress passed every time. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Okay. I'm just trying to catch up with what you guys are saying in the chat. All right. Barbie looms as simultaneously an unrealistically proportioned airhead and a striving every woman. Most of the time, she can't utter a word, yet she's believed to speak for a critical mass of us. Perhaps that's why the Barbie movie that finally exists is the only one that could exist, one that acknowledges and embraces that weirdness under the vigilant gaze of a corporate chaperone. The trailer's tagline, if you love Barbie, this movie is for you. If you hate Barbie, this movie is for you, is confirmation that Barbie is, in the most literal way, everyone's business. I get it. At 6 years old, I was offered a choice between two dolls for my birthday, the Bionic Woman or Barbie. I didn't, in contemporary toy representation parlance, see myself in Barbie. The Bionic Woman's brown hair and jumpsuit much more accurately mirrored my ponytail and hand-me-down corduroy overalls. Barbie, with her white blonde cascade of floss-like hair and a plunged-necked pink dress, was nothing like any woman I'd ever seen. Wasn't that the point? I chose Barbie. So there's sort of like an exoticism to Barbie that girls are drawn to. They don't necessarily want a doll that looks exactly like them, right? Barbie is such a prime example of how advertising and consumerism literally shape American culture. It's so gross. Yep, totally agree. We're so we are so shaped by like what literally a few corporate CEOs think is going to make them the most money. That is what shapes our culture. There's nothing ancient about it or anything. In my childhood, the doll was always there, perched on my dresser, toted along on car trips, surfing the waves in my bathtub on a tortoiseshell comb. She was more distant in my adulthood as Barbie had become a subject of feminist concern. I followed many authors, artists, musicians, and assorted culture jammers who were publicly working out their own Barbie issues in fascinating ways. Along the way, I realized this: Barbie is that childish thing none of us can put away because as long as she's existed, she's never been a child. Rather, she's been an emblem, a scapegoat, a lightning rod, a target, and most of all, a mirror. However we feel about Barbie at a given moment says a lot more about us than it does about Barbie. When the 1980s backlash against women's liberation bled into the 90s, psychologists started raising the alarm over a crisis in girls' confidence in best-selling books like Reviving Ophelia. So that's sort of the time that I came of age, and I was definitely like tuned in to the feminism of that time, which was very much like emerging liberal feminism. I mean, I think that you can trace liberal feminism back to the 70s, when women were arguing that porn is a way for women to be sexually liberated, and the whole sexual liberation movement for women, that was sort of like 60s, 70s, the pill, and all of that kind of stuff. Talked about that in the past. But I think that there was sort of there was like a slightly different flavor of that when I was growing up and as a teenager in the 1990s. It was not so much, I don't know, like I think there was a lot of criticism against things like Barbie then, right? And like stereotypical femininity. It was the riot girl grunge kind of era. Anita Hill was explaining sexual harassment to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and women on college campuses were reporting an alarming incidents of sexual assaults. A new wave of feminism was cresting, and it was dragging Barbie under. There was the matter of her unnatural proportions, like waist to hip ratios that could not exist in real life without sacrificing key internal organs. I definitely remember like kind of brouhaha around that, right? Later, it was her inescapable blondness and whiteness, despite introductions of Black and Latina Barbies in 1980, along with special collections like the 1980s Barbies of the World. Everyone knew the real Barbie, the icon, the Barbie. The one true Barbie was the testament to the same Western beauty ideal inscribed into America's other institutions of ornamental femininity, from Hollywood to Miss America to Playboy. And we talked about that recently. Was that on a stream? Yes, on the makeup stream when I read Sheila Jeffries, we were talking about, this sort of racist aspect um, to makeup, and how those the ideals that are promoted by like traditional makeup or whatever, reinforcing these white Western or even American beauty ideals that are just not really going to be achievable for certain people. So yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat. Continuing on. As with every iteration of feminism, those of us in the third wave that rose in the 90s had to grapple with the missteps, misgivings, and unfinished business of the previous generations. Barbie certainly wasn't the most important issue, but she was, after all, right there, nakedly and even proudly, what we would come to term problematic. So we donned our hot pink hair shirts. I don't even know what that means. So we donned our hot pink hair shirts. Hot pink hair shirts. Barbie's overlords were also being humbled. In 1992, Mattel introduced Teen Talk Barbie, which uttered, among other phrases, a chirpy "math class is tough," confirming that the historically trend-savvy brand was falling behind the times and prompting criticism from the American Association of University Women. Well, just a stereotype, right? Reinforcing a stereotype kind of all around us. Mattel's litigious responses to things like the 1998 intersectional feminist body image essay collection Adios Barbie and Aqua's gratingly ubiquitous earworm Barbie Girl didn't help its PR. So it's interesting that Mattel would even acknowledge that if there was a feminist essay collection called Adios Barbie. You know, I remember also in the era that I grew up in, I definitely remember conversations about Barbie's proportions and stuff like that it was unrealistic, but also Disney princesses. I mean, their waists are drawn so comically small. It's like, it's totally insane. It completely doesn't represent like what a human looks like. It's just such a weird, strange version of it. Mattel celebrated Barbie's 40th birthday in 1990 with a brand overhaul that shifted focus from dolls to actual girls, debuting an ad campaign that exhorted its young audience to become your own hero. I'm not really following the chat, but if we're talking about like weights and stuff, I think that maybe this is not really the right place for those kinds of conversations, because that can be really triggering to a lot of women. And so, you know, I think maybe not talking about specific numbers of weights is a good idea. Just the Barbie movie is about becoming your own hero, or at least taking a hero's journey, one that leads Barbie into a real world that, for the most part, finds her either dangerous or irrelevant. It's a fitting approach, since the most interesting thing about Barbie has always been our reactions to her. Some reviews have said the film suffers from an attempt by the director, Greta Gerwig, to incorporate the breadth of Barbie discourse, causing a narrative overload. But how could it not, given just how much discourse Barbie has inspired over 64 years? I want to say I really like Greta Gerwig. I think the only film of hers I've actually seen, though, is Frances Ha, and I love that movie. I saw it when it came out, and I just think it's like the perfect representation of female friendships. It's really, really, really good. I think it's a good kind of coming of age, feeling lost kind of movie. I know she's directed other movies and I haven't seen them. I probably should, but just based on that, I do, I like her in that movie. And I know I don't think she directed it, but she was definitely involved behind the camera as well as acting in it. I think, I've read about this Barbie movie. I did go on Twitter briefly today. I'm really going to try not to go on there too much, but I did see a lot of people saying this is like a radical feminist film. And I was thinking, oh yeah, that's how people would perceive it because it's like, at least just based on the trailer and things that I've read about it, seems like it's about independence and finding your own path and stuff like that. And it's like, even in the most like minor, like if a woman asserts herself or asserts her independence in even the most minor way, or goes against the societal patriarchal superstructure in the most minor way, that's considered radical feminist, which is so wild, right? It's not radical at all. If you're, I don't know, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say about that, but that would be my guess of why this is getting labeled a radical feminist film. I mean, unless Margot Robbie like just takes off all her makeup and stuff, how radical can it be? I don't know. But again, that's me judging it. I haven't seen it, so I have no idea. It could be super radical. I don't know. I think someone pointed out in the comments when I asked you guys what you wanted to read about today, that the whole thing is very corporatized and it's like very tied up in this commercialism and capitalism and all of this stuff. I don't, again, I haven't seen the film, so I don't know what the themes are. Maybe it's an anti-capitalist. I don't have a clue. But certainly the marketing of it is very commercialistic and very capitalistic. So I'm wary, for that reason. Ice Goddess says, nothing can ever be radical nowadays. We live in a world of chicken shit lib femmes and sex positive crap. I agree. How else will they get women to obsess over looks instead of, I don't know, contributing to society in meaningful ways or just working towards their own liberation? I don't even care about women contributing to society. They can totally go their own way and say, screw off to society, right? But we keep them trapped in this system of superficiality, focusing on our looks. And I mean, Barbie's the ultimate objectification, right? Like it is literally an object that's supposed to represent a woman. And we've talked about this recently too, that men's ideal woman is a doll or a robot or something like that. I mean, the ideal woman would not have a brain. The ideal woman would not have a brain. Okay. So you really have to like meditate on that for a while. That is, men's ideal woman has no brain. There's a different film, the 2018 documentary Tiny Shoulders Rethinking Barbie, that for me helps put that discourse in context. Tiny Shoulders chronicled Mattel as a company in crisis. Faced with shrinking revenues and declining audience interest, the company was poised in 2016 to introduce a collection of dolls whose skin tones and body types tick a few diversity boxes. Maybe girls don't want to play with dolls anymore. Maybe they just want to be on like an iPad or something. Like parents are giving their kids iPads at 1 year old or whatever. Like it's hard for me to imagine a girl or a child wanting to actually play with toys in 3 dimensions. And I think I have heard that kids' dexterity is worse now and stuff like that because they do everything in 2D on screens. Parents give them iPads and phones and everything. That, like, I would say that might be why Barbie's popularity is declining. Not that Barbie's not diverse enough or, any of these kind of woke things. It's like, well, 3D physical play is being replaced by iPads. Right? Do you think I'm right about that? Or I don't know. I was interviewed for the film alongside the Barbie historians M.G. Lord and Amanda Foreman and the feminist authors Roxane Gay, arguably feminist, and Gloria Steinem, with each of us offering context and commentary on Barbie's place in the past, present, and future of women's lives. I didn't realize the film's narrative would essentially serve as a Mattel redemption arc. When I saw the finished film, I realized that in the course of my life, I had gone from a guileless Barbie consumer to an enlightened Barbie renouncer to an unwitting Barbie PR booster. Yet for all the ways Barbie has evolved, so have our expectations for her. As Michelle Kidoni, Mattel's PR chief, or as she describes her, Barbie's publicist, said, inspiring the documentary's title, Barbie holds the weight of several generations worth of beauty standards and feminist analysis on her tiny shoulders. I mean, Barbie's pretty important. Those shoulders might get the occasional refashioning to make them more athletic or fleshier or more diverse in hue, or in the case of this new film, more self-aware of the weight they've been tasked with carrying. But that doesn't change the fact that we keep adding standards for her to live up to. As a symbol, Barbie is so complicated as to be useless, but as a vessel, she's proved remarkably durable. I'm willing to acknowledge, even mock, my once reflexive feminist rejection of everything Barbie. She never had to be a zero-sum figure, a thing you were with or against. Many of us definitely saw her that way. That we did speaks only to the continuing challenges of a world that even now isn't sure whether women can be free of stereotypes or expectations and be allowed to simply exist. I'm not really sure what the point of this essay was. Like, what point is she making? Where's the point? Where is the thesis? This is also, I'm willing to acknowledge, even mock, my once reflexive feminist rejection of everything Barbie, but Barbie is bad. What, you're mocking it just because there's a popular movie about it now? Or we don't even know if it's going to be popular. We're just assuming based on like the marketing blitz that this is going to be a popular movie. So you're rethinking your feminist stance on Barbie because there's now a popular movie about Barbie. That's pretty weak. Comments? Top comment is by a man. Let's read it. I won't even begin to mansplain anything about this topic, then goes on to write 6 more paragraphs. I will only pass on what I have witnessed with my own 3 girls. They are a couple of years apart for each and had every opportunity to pick out anything, toys and the like, as they were growing up, and had the opportunity for any hand-me-downs. The oldest didn't take to anything overtly girlish and was more of a sports aficionado. Future Tiff. At every opportunity, she was outside playing, biking, hiking, or involved with sports. Well, I mean, I personally love that, right? That's great. That's probably the default if this stuff wasn't shoved in girls' faces. I'm guessing more girls would be outside and being active, and if they were pushed in that direction, like, at all. The middle one was the bookworm and had a full-on library in her room. She skipped a couple of grades, and her hunger was and is only to progress through the education system. Nice. And the last and youngest watched the other two and turned into the pink girl, not necessarily Barbie. She had the dolls, but everything was small or miniature. We were constantly stepping on things every time we entered her pink sanctuary. To me as a parent, and I suppose to them, the whole point is one of choice. I know that is a loaded word, but what other word is there to describe a childhood where you are not limited in such things? Unfortunately, in our world, many girls do not have one. I actually think this comment is like really good. Probably why it's the top comment. It's good. Like, and what he describes in choice, I mean, and he even says it's a loaded word. Like that's exactly what I would have followed that with, right? By saying it's choice. Well, a lot of girls are pushed to be the pink girl. They don't, they don't end up the academic or the active girl because they're just so pushed to that pink girl direction from the start. As a mother of 3 girls, I can attest that Barbie is an overpriced marketing ploy. The clothes were difficult for little fingers to put on the doll. Her shoes always fell off, and Barbie could not be manipulated to sit down in chairs and ride in the Barbie car. The Barbie house did not win the test of children playing as it fell apart constantly. In my opinion, this was and is still a version of what men would like a woman to look like. Ew, this comment. Yes, how utterly strange that a man would actually be attracted to a classically pretty female image. Simply confounding. Blech. The math is hard Barbie is one thing that is brought up every time Barbie's negative influence on young women is discussed, but it's the one thing that, in my opinion, as a mathematician and teacher, is completely unwarranted. The backlash over the math is hard Barbie completely missed the point. Math is hard. So is scoring a 3-point shot in basketball, baking a souffle, or building a rocket that doesn't explode. What's important is not letting difficulty be a deterrent. And let's not forget, math is hard Barbie is alongside computer scientist Barbie, Mars explorer Barbie, robotics engineer Barbie, and architect Barbie, all of which require rather extensive math skills. Cute comment. Great point, Lily. Classically pretty equals porn cartoon men came up with, right? She's not classically pretty. She doesn't, her proportions don't exist in nature ever. So it is very cartoonish. It's gross. This tells you a lot. What did I just say a few minutes ago? The ideal woman has no brain. The ideal woman is literally a doll or a robot. The ideal woman doesn't think, she doesn't speak. That is, a woman is 100% object, not human, no ambition except to serve and please men. All right, we have another article. I don't know. I feel like you guys are not really engaged with the article. Like I'm not. You can talk about whatever you please in the chat. But if you want me to read another article, I've got a second one. Maybe it will be more engaging. I didn't really care for that article, so I don't blame y'all. Gretchen Whitmer would like you to meet Governor Barbie. By the way, the New York Times has published so many articles about Barbie in the last like 2 weeks. This is part of the whole media blitz. It really does make you think that, or it has a AstroTurf type like feel, like what is going on, you know? Okay, Moon wants to hear the next article, so that's good. That's all it takes for me. Sees a Michigander. Cool. All right, let's try this article, see if it's a little bit more engaging here. Gretchen Whitmer would like you to meet Governor Barbie. It's part of a social media stunt by the pink-loving politician, but does it represent a shift for women in politics? One also has comments. I have to say that photo is like, just as a person who does like miniature things, it is kind of cute. This stuff, it's cute. This is by Mattie Kahn. I don't know. I don't even know if that's a man or a woman. Didn't do any research on this at all, so we're just reading it together. The politician is having a busy week. She has events at the Capitol and an important bill to sign into law, like her namesake, who calls the shade her power color. She wears a hot pink pantsuit. My personal opinion, there's nothing whatsoever wrong with the color pink. I like the color pink. Back in the day, pink used to be a men's and a boy's color. So I have no problem with pink. I feel like pink is neutral. I don't know. Do feminists hate pink? Zay says miniatures is my hobby. Then I think that you might like this. Lily says pink is her favorite color. Nice. The politician is a Barbie doll, one that senior aides to Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan decided to dress up like their boss and roll out on social media this week as the Greta Gerwig directed Barbie movie shows up in theaters. Earlier this summer, staff members working for Ms. Whitmer, the Democrat who surprised pollsters with a double-digit win in the most recent race for her office, started to appreciate the sheer force of Barbie mania to which the world is currently in thrall. Asking you all, is the world currently in the thrall of Barbie mania, or are we having this marketing campaign just like shoved at us everywhere? Because it doesn't feel organic at all. It doesn't feel like, oh yeah, Barbie, we're so excited about it. Like it feels like it's very like being pushed everywhere. It doesn't feel like it's yeah. Existential says no, just the internet because of marketing. I agree. Like I don't think that like I've seen a lot about this too, Barbenheimer. It feels very it may also be one of those things where it's like, well, like, look, we're talking about it today, right? And I was thinking, yeah, it's topical, so people tend to hook on to topical things, whether they're actually genuinely interested in them or not. So that may be magnifying this and making it seem that people are interested in it. Really, they're just trying to catch the trend and talk about what everyone else is talking about. And like 15th Jessica says, this is like kind of where I'm at on this 99% commercial blitz, 1% organic content. Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine anyone, let alone adults, actually cares about Barbie at all. And I do think they're trying to manufacture interest in the movie. I don't think I'm going to see it. Well, first of all, I haven't seen a movie since before COVID. I don't think I have. I haven't been out too much, I kind of went inside and stayed inside. But I just I can't imagine paying $13 or whatever a movie costs to see it. Oh, maybe I'll watch it when it's like streaming or something. Also, I tend to think like, I don't know, everything I've watched as far as movies that's been produced in the last like few years, I kind of thought was bad. Like I haven't seen, especially a lot of fictional stuff that I think is like good at all. I wouldn't even like, I wouldn't even know about that at all. It always shocks me when people are like, oh yeah, just, do that. And I'm like, but like how do you even know how to do that? I'm such an old person with technology. Like I definitely would never like Google that either. Anyways, earlier this summer, staff members working for Ms. Whitmer, the Democrat who surprised pollsters with the double-digit win in the most recent race for office, like getting tongue-tied, started to appreciate the sheer force of Barbie mania to which the world is currently in thrall. Among many, many other marketing stunts, Crocs has produced a custom Barbie shoe. Burger King made pink sauce. The Whitmer team members wondered whether their boss might benefit from a tie-in of her own. So a lot of capitalists, this is again going back to like why I'm skeptical that this could possibly be a radical feminist film, even though that's the initial word about it, rolling my eyes, is that so many corporate capitalists have gotten in on this and tried to use it as a marketing tool. The fact that this film is coming out. Existential Gamer says movies used to give me chills. Now it's like meh. Yeah, even stuff that like is like even with TV, like I've tried a few shows that were like critically acclaimed and had like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and like audience stuff, you know, and I was just like felt like yeah, it's okay, but I don't know, maybe because I'm so addicted to the internet that like sitting and watching TV or a movie, I'm just like, yes, this is okay. It's like methadone for me. It's definitely like not my drug of choice. So that may be part of it. Whereas like pre-internet addiction, maybe I could watch something that was like a little more mediocre and get into it more, if that makes sense. I remember specifically watching like Wednesday and everyone just like losing their mind over it. And I think I watched like 1 or 2 episodes and I was like, yeah, this is okay. Like I just was like, I don't know. And I feel like every time I've tried to watch some like a show someone recommended who was like, oh, that was so good. I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. But it wasn't like, you know, it's just not like, oh yes, that's so good. Like it's been so long since I saw something and I was like, wow, you know. Expired Milk says, I've always enjoyed an evening at the movie theater. I don't expect most films I see to change my life. Yeah, I used to too. I actually was a film minor in college. So I spent a lot of times in movie theaters and I spent a lot of time in movie theaters and watching films and studying film. And yeah, I used to consider myself quite a like film aficionado and stuff. And I don't know, man. There's a before and after getting addicted to the internet for me, for sure. It's a bit of a gamble to intentionally compare a female politician to a doll once programmed to despair that math class is tough, and who has been such an avatar for sexist cliches that feminists spent the 1970s brandishing posters that declared, I am not a Barbie doll. But Barbie has also worked as a robotics engineer and has run for president 7 times. With the help of a Dreamhouse-sized marketing budget, she found herself in the middle of a cultural resurgence. Still, she's never been a governor. So the Whitmer team decided to give her some statewide executive experience and get a bump of attention for their boss in the process. I mean, obviously it worked because we are talking about this. Lil Gretch, as the Whitmer team calls her, is on message in her Michigan-made car. Nice. Ms. Whitmer's digital and creative director, Julia Pickett, christened the doll Lil Gretch, a takeoff on Big Gretch, a Michigan nickname for Ms. Whitmer, inspired by a pandemic-era local rap song about the governor. The stunt has the backing of Emily's List, the Democratic organization dedicated to getting women who support abortion rights elected. It does not have the official backing of Mattel, the company that makes Barbie. When asked whether infrastructure-oriented girls might soon see a Governor Barbie on store shelves, a representative for Mattel said the company could not share future plans, but added, so fun to know she is a fan. Funny that they've just boiled down being governor to being infrastructure oriented, as if there's not like more to it than that. Oh, great point. Expired milk. Hot take. They make it sound like Barbie has done all these occupations. What she's really done is just wear lots of different outfits. What is Barbie's actual personality? No one knows. It would ruin the toy again. What have I said multiple times already on this stream? The optimal woman doesn't have a personality, doesn't have a brain. Moon says, does Barbie even have a personality? I am realizing I hadn't thought of this before, but to be fair, I don't think about Barbie often. I think the idea, it's almost like with, characters in books that they like intentionally keep vague. Barbie is there for you to project your own personality onto her. Instagram users will find this Governor Barbie in tableaux vivants that include her speaking from a podium. Is that tableau or tableaux? Any French speakers out there? Tableau or tableaux? I know like it's like this is pronounced Beaux-Arts. Like you pronounce the X there. X is silent, says Moon. Thank you. I guess because the next word starts with the consonant. Like, okay. Instagram users will find this Governor Barbie in tableaux vivants that include her speaking from a podium, signing legislation, and fixing the damn roads, Kaylee Hansen, Ms. Whitmer's chief communications officer, said, invoking one of Ms. Whitmer's favored slogans. In one setup, Governor Barbie is pictured behind the wheel of her Pepto-Bismol colored Chevrolet. The vehicle is manufactured in Michigan, the team was at pains to point out. Miniaturized pink construction cones indicate road work ahead. So that is this. I did notice the pink cones. I mean, that's pretty cute. I wonder how they did like the background and stuff. I mean, they probably just like put this on a sidewalk or something, right? Ms. Whitmer's name is a fixture on lists of possible 2028 presidential candidates. They're really going to make us vote for Joe Biden, in the words of Bo Burnham. Her win in November 2022 was so decisive that it helped turn both chambers of the state legislature blue for the first time in 4 decades. That kind of reputation for coalition building has even led some to whisper about a possible 2024 run, although she has said she will not enter the race. But an ad hoc blockbuster movie collab is not like chowing down on a corn dog at the Iowa State Fair. It's on no campaign strategist lists of presidential requirements. So what on earth would compel Ms. Whitmer to do this? Ms. Whitmer, 51, joined a recent video call to explain. She was wearing hot pink. Little Gretch wasn't her idea, but she was immediately enthusiastic, she said, having grown up with and chopped the hair off a vast collection of Barbies shared with her sister. When they showed me the first iteration, I thought it was absolutely hilarious, she said. This Barbie is going to be signing legislation. She's going to be leading. That Barbie is also going to be getting attention. The education bill that Governor Barbie is pictured signing with her non-opposable thumbs is the same one that Ms. Whitmer is expected to enact into law this week. Ms. Whitmer favors hot pink suiting. What do you think about like wearing pink clothes? I know someone said pink was their favorite color. Um, I think like the just without having put any thought into this at all, that wearing pink because it is so coded as feminine, it is a way to, is it coded as feminine or is it coded as female? I guess that's a good question. But is it a way to assert the fact that you are a female in a place that is normally male dominated? This is something I've actually been thinking about for a pretty long time. Um, and I've thought about this in the context of wearing feminine clothing to do sports, like wearing overtly feminine clothing to do sports, whereas sports is historically been a male domain and not a female domain. By wearing feminine clothing or feminine coded clothing, you're asserting the idea that you are a female in this space that was normally historically occupied by men. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah, it's something I definitely want to talk more about, and I've thought about a lot. I've come across some brands that are that make clothing for athletics, and it's really about that. It's like very, very feminine, but then they're like, we want to be feminine and also strong and also have good endurance and all these other things that are really positive. And I think like they're kind of on the right track with that. It's not necessarily about like performing femininity, and it's like it's almost taking femininity and spinning on its head, because femininity is normally associated with like demureness and not speaking up and weakness and not that's like what femininity is normally associated with. And if you take it and you put it in the context of a woman in a leadership position or a woman doing sports, maybe it's different. And I don't mean I think there's also a difference between, say, like wearing the color pink and wearing like, I want to say overtly sexual clothing, but like, or makeup, like we can leave the clothing out of it, like hair and makeup, having your hair and makeup done to like play basketball or something. Then I feel like that's introducing like a negative thing in. I don't know. I'm like all over the place with this because it's something that I would really like to talk about at some point, but I don't even know like exactly how I feel about it. Lydia says, a good point. I feel like it shouldn't be an issue. Not everything a woman does has to be a statement. Existential gamer says, two comments for one after the other. The pink suits are definitely a statement. C says performative femininity feels authentic in a way. Performative femininity is a sign of submissive to me, the opposite of strong. Yeah, that's right. I agree. Lily, you want to come on and talk about it? I listened to this feminist Twitter space the other day, and I didn't listen to all of it. It was like 6 hours long or something, but I listened to bits and pieces of it, and I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. Like they had, I don't know, 10 women on there or something, all taking turns talking. And I was like, I really would like to host something like that, maybe on here. I don't think you'll sound like a dum-dum, Lily. If you want to come on and chat, here you go. Because this is like definitely, I don't know. I feel, yeah, right. I feel like a dum-dum talking about this because I haven't fully formed my thoughts. I know I've talked to Radical about it in the past. Because I specifically came across this one brand. I can't remember what it was called. I probably saved it somewhere. And they made like racing suits for triathlon, and it was very like, we're women and we can be both beautiful and pretty and feminine and strong and have good endurance. And I was like, but why do you have to be pretty when you're doing it? Like, in fact, most people look pretty gross when they're doing endurance sports. Like, so it's just such a weird thing to me. But like at the same time, I get that like women have this desire to assert that they are a female, right? That they're a female doing these things that are associated with men, where they're like, hey, I'm a female in this space and I want to assert the fact that I'm a female in this space because I'm proud to be a female in this space that's normally been off limits to me. Do you know what I mean? So I get that. It's like I get them wanting to do that. I think it's like a little off base, like how they're trying to do it. Totally agree with this. Like, yeah, that's a good point. And I think that other who said it back there? Like Lydia was saying, it should be a non-issue. And it's like no matter what a woman's doing, people are always going to comment on her looks or what she's wearing. And not men, for men, it's not the same way. Like people do comment on male politicians' looks and stuff, but it's like an integral part. Or even a woman scientist, it's like, oh, she cured cancer, but what does she look like? That's always in there. Again, it speaks to that objectification of women. So Nina says, I see wearing pink as a sign of conformity and submission. Again, pink on its own is just a color. It's just something that we've coded to in that way. It's just a color on the spectrum. It could be any color, right? I'm not sure how it got flipped. Like there's definitely a history there, right? Because it used to be associated back in the day. It used to be little girls wore blue and little boys wore pink. And then somewhere it got flipped around. Right. Radical Rambling says pink wasn't even a girl's color until the 1920s. Okay, so B Long has seen the Barbie movie. I surprisingly liked it, although I didn't like the teenage girl started off as tomboyish in baggy jeans, etc., and ended the movie in a big pink dress. No acknowledgement of GNC girls. Okay. Haven't seen it, so I have no clue what you're talking about, but Moon says, great comment here. That's what I'm trying hard to work on now, not seeking men's approval, pushing past the feeling of I don't look feminine enough. This is wrong. Yeah, well, we all have that man's voice in our head, right? What's the quote? Seeing the world, seeing yourself through a man's eyes, the man that lives in your head. C says, I think the performative femininity you do alongside wearing pink is the problem. For example, in the pics, Whitmer is pairing pink with heels and a full face of makeup. Agreed. Very good point. Oh, great, Lily. Great point. I understand the motivation to use feminine signifiers as a I am a woman, hear me roar type thing, but I'm not sure you can use tools of oppression to empower yourself. I don't see pink, the color pink, as a tool of oppression because it's a color. Like it's just a color. So it's not makeup, hair, nails, heels, so etc. that we would think of actual tools of oppression. So I do agree with your point. I'm not sure it applies to the color pink. Bastet Owl says, I don't think wearing pink is submissiveness, but wearing heels is because it limits your mobility and is bad for your health. I will never wear heels again in my life, ever. I think I've had so many oh my God, y'all. I posted that I was running. That was the 4th time I've been on a run this month. The last time that I even attempted to run at all, even one step, was last like September or something. So I am trying to run now. Knock on wood, I haven't had any pain, but I've had this long history of injury in my left foot. And you do have to wonder, was it the 8 years that I wore high heels for? Because that shit is so bad for you. It's so bad. I would never do it again, and I would never work in an environment where in order to be considered professional, I have to wear something that is literally gonna hurt me, physically injure me. And men don't have to do that. My last guy I dated, which is like 7 years ago, he used to wear sneakers, and he had like a very professional job. Crazy. Women are just not, like every woman he worked with wore heels. He wore those like Oxfords that have like a sneaker sole to them. And they make them for women too, and I guess women could wear them too, but like he had no foot pain, Existential says, God, I wore heels literally every day for years in my 20s. They says they are ugly and suck. Moon says, I hate heels, never wear them, but I always felt women who wore them effortlessly were better women than me. Now I feel sorry for them. So that's good. Evolution in your thinking. We love that. We love that for you. Expired says, I know guys from my prep world counter any you're wearing pink claims with It's Salmon. Sure, like certain preppy guys, right, wear pink and in kind of it's like almost subversive, right? But it's like asserting that I'm so masculine that I can wear pink and still be masculine, like, which is interesting. I'm so masculine, or I'm so empowered by my wealth or whatever, that those rules that apply to the plebes don't apply to me. Hey, Kai. Welcome, welcome. Always good to see ya. Critics might raise a skeptical brow. Barbie, of course, cannot. But Celinda Lake, a Democratic pollster, called the movie a slam dunk. Social media algorithms do not tend to reward acts of basic governance. She has seen in her own data how voters struggle to recall the accomplishments of their elected officials. Those pink construction cones might make an impact, she said. The TikTok generation are receptive to these kinds of things, Ms. Lake said. There will be people who don't get it, and that's fine, Ms. Whitmer said. We're going to have fun. We're going to continue to be fierce and feminine in our fuchsia. And Ms. Whitmer does love fuchsia. Her mother, an assistant attorney general in Michigan, also favored the shade. One of her colleagues said, you cannot wear pink going to court, Ms. Whitmer said. And she said, fuchsia is my power color. When her mother died, mourners showed up wearing pink in her honor. So this is really interesting, right? Again, pink is just a color, but we've coded it so much to say you cannot wear pink going to court. In other words, people who wear pink don't belong in court. Who are the people who wear pink? Women. Therefore, women don't belong in court. I mean, that might be a stretch to some people, but that would be the logical extension of this statement. You cannot wear pink going to court. Well, it's never going to be a problem for men. I actually like the movie Legally Blonde. Definitely saw that movie before I knew anything about radical feminism. I don't know if I've rewatched it since I've known all of what I know and had my eyes open. But I do find I've watched that movie a few times, and every time I've watched it, I felt very, energized after watching it, like, just more about the vibe of putting your mind to something, and even when people are saying, like, "You can't do it." I don't think that movie is necessarily so much about femininity. Obviously, there's, like, a lot of hyper femininity in that movie, but the underlying message is really positive towards women, um, and not in a liberal feminist way either, I think, just in a, like, "F you, I'm gonna, like, do what I want, and you can't tell me otherwise." So, I don't know. I do happen to like that movie. In 2022, Ms. Whitmer made reproductive access a focus of her reelection. Good. When she was declared the winner of that race, she celebrated in a $500 hot pink suit from the workwear brand Argent, which produced the look in collaboration with the feminist collective Supermajority. Oh, pink. I'm like, what is a pussy hat? And now I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember that. Pink in the pussy hat shade had by then become the unofficial color of the Women's March. Dude, that stuff all went away so fast. It came and went like so quick. Argent's founder, Sally Christensen, said Ms. Whitmer had ordered it online herself like a normal person. Normal people don't wear $500 suits, but okay. She did not know that Ms. Whitmer was planning to wear it as votes were tallied that November. It is the brand's best-selling suit to date. For her second inauguration, Ms. Whitmer again wore fuchsia to repeal an abortion ban that would have made criminals of doctors who performed the procedure. She wore hot pink. Ah, man, it's interesting. Like I'm finding this very interesting. Magenta lipstick is such a staple that she swiped it on even when she announced that the FBI had foiled a plot to kidnap her in October 2022 or October 2020. That's how what I best know her for. The when those mouth breathers stormed the Michigan Capitol back in the day. She also wore a leather jacket, another signature. That was the armor that I felt comfortable in. I'm finding this article very interesting and much more interesting than the other article because it's like, how does femininity play into like positions of power? You know, it is performative femininity, but it's also again that assertion of femaleness via performative femininity. Like, ah, yes, Moon. She calls it her armor. Interesting. Yes, like she's going into battle, right? We probably do need armor. Political observers like Celinda Lake and Jennifer Palmieri believe the Lil Gretch campaign won't diminish Ms. Whitmer's stature. I don't, I don't see how it would. It just seems pretty lighthearted, honestly. When Ms. Whitmer was first running for office, she had to contend with what she called the Xerox model for women's dress: dark suit, white top, pulled back hair. You were muted, she said, and most of the advice about what women in politics should wear came from men. There were a lot of strong opinions about being conservatively dressed so that people would listen to your words and not get distracted by your outfit, Ms. Whitmer said. It's all baloney. It's all about controlling women. Wow, this paragraph has so much, y'all. I'm going to read it one more time, then hopefully we can talk about it. When Ms. Whitmer was first running for office, she had to contend with what she called the Xerox model for women's dress: dark suit, white top, pulled back hair. You were muted, she said. And most of the advice about what women in politics should wear came from men. There were a lot of strong opinions about being conservatively dressed so that people would listen to your words and not get distracted by your outfit. It's all baloney. It's all about controlling women. I really want to hear what you all have to say about that. I feel like there's so much packed into that one paragraph. Damn. Like the idea about being invisible and blending in order to have your words heard is it's like so contradictory. But then if you wear something flashy, then that's all people will look at. They won't listen to your words. Yeah, it's super interesting. Paxton says they don't listen to women either way. Following their arbitrary rules doesn't guarantee you anything. Totally agree. Right on with that. Kai says it's an interesting thought. Julie says, quit reminding us that we think of you as an object. Zay says, I feel like sometimes these women may be leveraging their beauty. There's this like whole use your beauty thing in regards to feminism right now. Your beauty is your currency. Like, ew, no. Again, yes, that's a very liberal feminist thing, right? You know, your source of power is your beauty and your femininity. Lily says, either way, it seems like men are controlling how women present themselves. Either you conform to femininity or you go plain Jane because men also said to do that. Or even if you go against what they say, you're still basing, like we hear that sometimes, right? As radical feminists, like from women who are like, well, if you don't wear makeup, then you're just basing what you're doing on men anyways because men want you to wear it. So when you don't wear it, it's like, no, we're just existing in our natural state, sis. But that idea of going against what men are telling you to do is still like centering men, you know? Moon says, I mean, what she wears doesn't matter, but I feel like men are just saying it's her fault if people are distracted by her dress. Same pattern of victim blaming. So that sounds very familiar to lots of man. We have this conversation a lot about, women are responsible for men's sins. It's whatever she wears that it's her fault whether people pay attention to her or not. Not their fault. It's not their responsibility to pay attention to her. It's her responsibility to make them pay attention to her in just the right way. Existential Gamer says that's the catch-22. Wearing femininity means you're looking for attention, and not doing it means you don't take care of yourself. Sad. Oh. Lily says, I'm a plain Jane because it's convenient for me and not because I'm afraid men would think I'm too much otherwise. Power to my fellow plain Janes. Expired Milk says, despite being the plainest of Janes imaginable when it came to wanting to enter a boys' space, robotics, carpentry, technical theater, I was still pushed out. And Virtual Cabbage says, I get when people say they use clothes as a form of expression, but when your confidence and power lies solely in what you wear, it sounds like presentation is more important than your intellect. Zay, so many great comments. Thank you guys for these wonderful comments. Women shouldn't have to perform to get things done. Women shouldn't have to wear a three-piece suit, wear makeup, put on heels, have a purse, and look traditionally feminine to get things done. And yet a lot of women will tell us they feel better, right? And they feel like more productive when they've got makeup on, and they feel like everyone treats them nicer. So then they do a better job because they feel better about themselves. This is a good question. Funny how plain Jane is even a word. Is there a male equivalent for a basic looking guy? Says Ginny. Zay says some guy. This is definitely true. Virtual Cabbage says, I think being a plain Jane is practical as well. You're not spending thousands on new clothes, makeup, etc. All of this is just consumer culture impacting women the hardest, and plain Janes opt out. Definitely. And all of this stuff has an impact on the environment too. Not that I don't put any responsibility for the destruction of our planet on individual women, even lib femmes who buy tons of clothes and makeup and it's super wasteful. But corporations who profit off this stuff rely on us, buying into this system that also happens to be destroying the planet. It's peak Whitmer to do this, said Jennifer Palmieri, who profiled Ms. Whitmer for Vanity Fair and served as communications director for problematic Hillary Clinton when Mrs. Clinton was running for president. By that, she seemed to mean it was both shrewd and cheerfully over the top. At the time that Mrs. Clinton was a candidate, wardrobe was a huge question mark, Ms. Palmieri said. She recalled deliberations over how to present Mrs. Clinton as a leader without forcing her into a man's uniform. She settled on pastel pantsuits and draped jackets. And it's not like any, Hillary Clinton's competitors. Oh, see you later, radical. Have a good meeting. It's not like Hillary Clinton's competitors who were male, like nobody ever they were like wearing a suit. Maybe someone would comment on the color of their tie or something like that, but the scrutiny that women are under is just so one-sided and such a double standard and so unfair. She recalled deliberations over how, okay. In 2016, Mrs. Clinton was also made into a Barbie, which was not her team's idea. Saturday Night Live ran a spoof ad for President Barbie doll modeled after her. An uninterested girl waved the doll off. She tries too hard. I feel like I remember that, and I feel like in that skit, the girl wants to play with like the Bernie Sanders doll or something like that. I totally can't remember. Anyways, the ad depicted Barbie as retrograde and Mrs. Clinton as a relic. Right. That was the idea, that it was like young women were not interested in supporting Hillary Clinton. I voted for her, obviously, 2016. But I voted for Bernie in the primary twice, the two opportunities I had to do that, in case anyone's interested. Other invocations of the doll have been more malevolent. I'm also not registered as a Democrat anymore, so I won't be participating in any primaries in my state. You have to be registered in a party to participate in primaries. In 2014, Wendy Davis, a candidate for Texas governor, was faced with life-size posters of her head pasted onto a Barbie's naked torso. Yikes. A title dubbed Ms. Davis Abortion Barbie. Wow, that's super Texas, right? Jesus, people are so dumb. Oh man. The average IQ in America is 98. Like that's a joke. That's factually true, but it's also a joke because like IQ, the average is supposed to be 100. That's how IQ works. Like it's a bell curve with 100 being the average. But in America, it's 98. because we're actually that dumb. In 2020, a man carried a Barbie doll hanging from a noose onto the front steps of the Michigan State Capitol and claimed it was Ms. Whitmer. He had an axe too, which the police confiscated. Really classy. Unfortunately, women leaders see attacks like this so frequently because of their gender, Ms. Hansen said. So, yeah. So that is a very interesting detail though, because it's like someone actually used Barbie in a totally violent way against her, and here she is like reclaiming it. Very, very interesting, very intriguing. Well, you voted for because she's a woman and a Democrat, but I don't think that you vote for a woman just because it's a woman if she was like anti-abortion and all the rest of it. There is and sometimes Republicans do that, right? They'll like tap a woman candidate. I feel like Sarah Palin is a good example of that. It's like they just wanted a woman to try to get women's votes, but she like doesn't have women's interests at heart. And most women can see through that. As applied to me, and as that term has been applied to other women, it is intended to diminish us, to draw attention to how we look, to sexualize us, and to distract from our accomplishments, our intellect, our capabilities, Ms. Davis said of the Barbie taunt. So again, another really, really interesting. I'm really enjoying this article a lot compared to the other one, which was like pretty blah. Um, this idea that Barbie is used as an epithet against women to be like, you are dumb, you are a doll, you have nothing in your brain, you have one purpose. I'm laughing at the chat. You guys are funny. Like Ms. Whitmer and Barbie, Ms. Davis is linked to Pink. In 2013, she filibustered anti-abortion legislation in the Texas Senate, where she was then serving. She stood on her feet for 11 hours in pink sneakers. I have more pink in my closet than you can possibly imagine, she said. I've heard so many women who have run for office talk about this tightrope that we get put on. And I love the idea of freeing ourselves from those shackles and not being afraid to be fully who we are. So again, there's sort of like a liberal feminist element to this, but I mean, yeah, there's so much in this article that's speaking to that idea. I've really been thinking about this for so long about how to assert being a female in a male dominated space or a historically male space and be like, I am here and I am female, and I get wanting to do that. And like wearing pink, which again is just a color, it is culturally coded to be associated with females, not even necessarily femininity because it's a color. Like performative femininity, I see as more of the things that are like the damaging things, the heels, the makeup, etc. But like you're gonna wear clothes anyways. Wearing clothes in the color pink does make a statement that wearing clothes of any other color doesn't. So it's probably like the least harmful way to assert your femaleness in a space. These are just my like spontaneous thoughts. I haven't put a lot of thought into this. Expired Milk says, I think making a statement about being female isn't always relevant, perhaps in politics, but for me, I don't need to announce it. It's evident as soon as I arrive. Yeah. But like, are there situations where you're in a space that is a male dominated space or historically male space, and you're like, this is like, pretty cool that I've found a way in here in a way that was maybe denied to women a generation or 2 ago or a few generations ago or whatever. Um, and I am here now in this male-dominated space. Um, yeah, maybe you don't need to, like, yell it, but I know, like, those of us who've experienced it, like, I know that feeling because I've been in a lot of spaces where, like, I'm the only woman or whatever. I don't know, maybe not everyone's had that experience. Um, or, I also want to acknowledge that I've been in spaces where I've been like one of the only women and been really uncomfortable also. And there have been times when I've been really proud to be there because I'm like, this is not that I'm like paving the way or anything like that, but it's like I somehow found my way in here just by being, you know, a lot of times women do have to work extra hard, especially career wise, to get into places where that have been, you know, denied to them. Expired Milk says, I'm very familiar with being the only woman on a working team. Moon Moon says, I hate being the only woman. It's the most uncomfortable thing ever. C says, I'm planning on going into a male dominated field, so I am mentally preparing myself for it. Night Chime says, wearing pink when no one else is othering yourself. Clothes are either androgynous or feminine clothes. So why ever opt for feminine ones unless you want to be put into a box? Expired Milk says, I think asserting my femaleness might come in the form of calling men out on their unfair treatment of me. That's very, very good. Jenny says, being a woman is so weirdly political. You either ignore your femaleness, try to be one of the boys and suffer, or you're proud and loud and suffer anyways. And I think about this so much, like the conversations we have in these streams and everything, which are obviously centered on womanhood and stuff. It's like, there's no male equivalent. They don't have to have that. It's like we have to, like, being a woman is weirdly political. It is necessarily like, all these struggle sessions we have over makeup and stuff. It's like men don't even waste their time on those conversations. They're off talking it about actual things, not about like what it is to be a woman. I really haven't had an experience of being on a female team or really working with women in the workplace so much. So, Existential says, I'm always surrounded by dudes because of my interests. Same. It was comfortable, but at work, it's an all female team and it's so awesome. And then, like, I've done a lot of sports in my past and like being a rock climber and doing triathlon and stuff like that. There are definitely women who do that stuff, but it is definitely more male dominated, and there have been many times when I've been I was the only woman on a cycling team of, like, 30 guys, and there, you not only have, like, you're the only woman, but it's so hard to keep up because they're physically stronger than you. And same with climbing, it's like I've gone on climbing trips where I was the only girl, and it's like, um, all the guys are stronger and they're climbing 2 grades harder than me, and they have to accommodate me, and they have to slow down for me and stuff, and, I haven't really had that experience of being on, like, female teams where, I was able to, like, at work, it's different because there's not like a physical aspect to it. But I worked for many years in the financial industry when I would be the only woman on the team. And I don't feel like that they had to slow down or accommodate me or something, but um, they probably changed the nature of their conversations to accommodate a woman. So Secret Squirrel Girl says, I worked in all female offices before and it was very toxic catty. underhandedly competitive and cliquey. Actually, you're reminding me, I did work for about 9 months. I was an office manager in a very small office for women, including myself. And it was very toxic. And I think it was because the business owner was like just a weirdo and had mental issues. She really set the tone for the toxicity. But yeah, I would say that was the only experience. Like there was no like, oh, this is amazing just working with all women. Expired Milk says, I've had back problems since being on a crew of all guys as an intern. They teamed up to carry things, but left me on my own, hoping I would quit. Oh my God, that's awful. I didn't try, and I did I didn't to try and prove a point worth it, unsure. I worked as a rock climbing guide very briefly, um, doing like Boy Scout outings and stuff, and all the other guides were men. And that where you're carrying literally 50-pound pack and they would walk so fast. These guys would just, up a mountain carrying a pack. And I remember I was just like dying, but I would do everything that I could to keep up with them. So and like hide it, like I would never be like, oh my God, could you please slow down? Like I'm literally dying. And that was when I was in the best shape of my life. And there's just physical differences between men and women, Ooh, it's getting to that point where my voice is getting tired. Still, Meg Heckman, an associate professor of journalism and media innovation at Northeastern University, sees risks for women in particular who lean too hard into individual aspects of their personae, not least an aspect that has been borrowed from a glammed up children's plaything. It runs the risk of trivialization, she said, something female candidates have long battled. Ms. Heckman also suggested that although the creation of a pop cultural parallel to the real-life governor might be subtly reshaping the face of political leadership away from one that's white and male, it might also be codifying other barriers to entry. Barbie is a conventionally attractive fictional white woman, Ms. Heckman pointed out. Who else is being left out of the frame? In 2021, the Barbara Lee Family Foundation published an updated guide to running for elected office as a woman. It cited focus group respondents who said they would advise female candidates to be sure their wardrobe, makeup, and appearance are impeccable. The foundation's executive director, Amanda Hunter, said she had been surprised to see that voters penalized women for even minor perceived flaws such as wrinkled collars or less than pristine hair. This is like why I would never run for office ever. I can't do that shit. In that depressing sense, Governor Barbie is in fact meeting voter expectations. Voters have a standard of perfection for women, Ms. Hunter said. Ms. Whitmer, who has in fact had a perfect electoral record since her first race at age 29. Ugh. My allergies have been so bad lately. Is serious about her Barbies, but the wink is implied, Ms. Palmieri said. It's like, you want me to look like a Barbie doll. I'm going to embrace that as something that empowers me, not something that is pigeonholing me, she said. Okay, so you get the lib fem bottom line here. What about women who can't look like a Barbie doll because they're ugly? I guess empowerment is off limits to them because that's the message that I think that sends. If you want me to look, I gotta get comfortable. If you want me to look like a Barbie doll, I'm going to embrace that. Oh, Sorry. I'm going to embrace that as something that empowers me, not something that is pigeonholing me, she said. Yeah, C says the only reaction I have to the perfection comment is frowny face. I don't know what to say, just internal sadness and mild rage. Ugly women have no real ideas. It's so classic, and kind of unfortunate too, because I feel like this article did have like a kind of a lot of interesting ideas in it, and then it like ends with that underlining that classic lib femme idea, right? Kai says, I feel like the only way to see change is if more women just simply refuse to wear makeup and the usual to try to make the point. I totally agree. The audacity men have to walk around looking the way they do is atrocious. Expired Milk says, unfortunately, that's the reasoning behind if black women can be women, then trans women can be women, because being a woman equals being a white female because of beauty standards and norms. Definitely. And we talked about that in the makeup stream a week or two ago. I don't remember when that was, a couple weeks ago. The idea that makeup is like so racist because it reinforces a beauty standard built around white women. So it already puts women of color at a disadvantage before you even get started. And feminism should be anti-racist, and I don't understand like women in radical feminist spaces arguing for something that's racist, because it should be like, you know Nina says conforming to an unrealistic character of a woman, Barbie, is not empowering, and every time I hear the word empowerment paired with hyperfemininity, I'm skeptical. Of course she would be, because you know how can you use the tools of oppression that patriarchy puts in place as means of empowerment? You can't. This is such a great comment too. There's barely any space for GNC women because of these beauty standards. So yeah, a lot of women get left out, right? And women who don't want to put carcinogenic chemicals on their face, which then get absorbed into your body, or endocrine disrupting chemicals, which get absorbed into your body. If you refuse to do that, you can't be part of this. You can't be empowered in the way these other women are, and that's shitty. Comments. Whitmer rocks. She is everything we need. She is strong, focused, effective, human, and humorous. You go, girl. Top comment. Her sense of humor is amazing, as is her courage. I mean, again, I think there were a lot of like kind of really interesting points of discussion in this article. Unfortunate ending. Good for the governor and her staff. The best politicians have a genuine sense of humor. I feel like I did peek through the comments before, and There was like a critical one, but I'm not seeing it now. So I guess the other ones got upvoted or love this. It's fun and in your face, and it takes control of a negative stereotype and turns it around. Brilliant. What the comments are really like rah-rah. I don't think, it's not like the most problematic thing out there. Tori says the classic Yugo should do, as if a Yugo girl. She's literally 50 years old. I will admit, I do occasionally say girl as like a, sort of a term of endearment, I guess. But okay, so we'll go back to here. Hi, it's me. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. So we got a few minutes. Yeah, I'll take hey girl over hey bench any day, because I really can't stand that. I wish that would go away and die and be gone forever. Yeah, I guess we could be like perfect and try to eliminate all these things, or we can forget perfectionism. That's what I was talking about in my last video, which I think Joan of Arc has a video about that too. I mentioned her a few times recently. If you're not subscribed to her, you might look into that. She has really like good ideas and really like interesting takes on things. Like there's been many topics that she's talked about and I'm like, wow, I've never really thought about it that way. But she did talk about, I think she has a video about perfectionism and feminism. And I was trying to echo that a little bit in the video that I made this week. Finally made a video. But yeah, getting away from that perfectionism idea that in order to be in a radical feminist space, call ourselves radical feminists, that we have to be perfect. Well, that's the expectation that women always have, is perfection. Let me see if I can find her channel. And I don't like to recommend people and promote people because I've done it in the past and been really burned in doing it. But I will put a link to her channel as soon as I can grab it. But I know, and also like I was experiencing like a real troll issue for a while, which I, knock on wood, don't seem to be lately. So, and I told that actually, because I told that to Joan of Arc. I got to find her channel though, unless someone else grab her channel and put it in the chat, please? Because it's hard for me to do two things at once. But somebody else here, like Existential or somebody who follows her, can do that for us, please. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, no, I mentioned to her one time, oh, I'd like to like, promote your channel, but like, I don't know about trolls. And she's like, bring it on. Like, I'll deal with trolls all day. So, yeah. I don't really follow that many feminists. Oh, speaking of, I think Black Obsidian's channel is gone because I believe she has her triathlon coming up this weekend. And I wanted to like send her a message of like good luck and everything. And I saw people were talking about that triathlon on Reddit, and I wanted to send it to her. And then I looked for a channel, and I think it was gone. So I'm like, that's sad. End of an era. Oh, thank you, Existential. And yeah, right. I don't follow that many people, but she is one that I follow, and she's I think she was actually in this chat briefly. She's definitely a friend of the show. So, what else? What else is on y'all's mind? I saw another article that I was gonna put in the poll for today, and I totally forgot. I've been really like chaotic, and even my mom said to me today, she's like, "Where's your mind lately? Like you're just total chaos." And I feel that. I don't know. I was like, hopefully it's not like early onset Alzheimer's or something. Like I am so freaking scattered. It's like unbelievable. Every time I go anywhere, I forget something. Like it's like I don't know. When I had my physical a few weeks ago, the doctor actually asked, like, do you have any issues with your memory? And she was just like asking it like cursorily, like, I just have to ask this question. And I was like, actually, yes. And she's just like moved on to the next question because, whatever. But I think it might just be like ADHD or something. I'm not really like worried that I have something wrong, but I will tell you, I went to go to the pool to go swimming, and oh, by the way, we finally got hot water here. We didn't have hot water for 3 months, and so I was taking showers at the pool when I would go swimming. And so like a couple weeks ago, I went to the pool, which is like half an hour away, and not only did I forget my swimsuit, but I also forgot all my showering stuff. So then I was like, stuff like that, where I'm like, every time I go out and I need to remember something, I'm just forgetting stuff. Like things that were integral to the activity I'm going to do. What's the explanation for that? Is that ADHD or like what? Any other people have ADHD out there? Anyways, I saw this article that I was going to put in the poll, but didn't because I am chaotic and I'm, for some reason, was doing everything at the last possible second today. But it was about how when women, yes, as of yesterday, I took a hot shower here. It was amazing. I felt actually spoiled. I don't know why. I've just been conditioned to believe that like hot water is something for spoiled people. But the other article I saw was women in perimenopause supposedly have these like insanely heavy periods, and I didn't know about that, but I have insanely heavy periods. And the article was about a woman who worked as a 911 dispatcher, and she got fired because she bled onto her chair because her period was so heavy, and she was going through perimenopause and didn't know or whatever. It just kind of caught her off guard. And I fully understand that. I have an extraordinarily heavy period. Usually one day out of the day, it's usually day 2. Day 1 is usually very, very light. Day 2 is like, forget it, insanely heavy, like a freaking waterfall. And yeah, I think this would be a really, really interesting thing to talk about. It's more mysterious than childbirth. Yeah, and in this article, they said something like, it was like, oh, well, it's just 4 to 8 years, and then it's over. It's like, that's a long time, right? Yeah, like you'd think it wouldn't be legal. They said that she had failed to uphold basics of personal hygiene, and it's like that would never happen to a man. And I've bled onto a chair before because my periods are so insanely heavy, and it's not like, oh, I have bad personal hygiene. It's like sometimes literally within 10 minutes, enough blood comes out of me that, it fills up everything and then some, and it happens. My sister has super heavy periods too. Mine have gotten a lot heavier as I've gotten older. I'm 40 now, so I don't know if I'm in that perimenopause period yet. But they also said, oh, a normal period only lasts 7 days. I'm like, my periods have always been 9, 10, 11 days. Zay says, I have very light periods. My mom has heavy periods. My cramps, though, is off the charts. Like, I didn't take anything for cramps this I'm on day 3 today. I haven't had to take anything for cramps. So some months I do, some months I don't. Nina says, same blood everywhere. Tori says something a man will never be penalized for. Yeah, I feel like what Expired said that would be a good topic for stream. I agree, because every woman like loves to talk about their periods. So it's something I love to talk about, and it brings out all the other people who love to talk about it. Existential says, my PCOS irregular periods actually evened out after 40. It's so weird having it regularly. So guess what? I mentioned this before a couple streams ago, that I went for my physical and the doctor didn't believe that I have PCOS. And she's like, well, I'm going to do all the blood tests because I don't believe you, blah, blah, blah. Like, she was so dismissive about it and stuff. Well, I got all my blood tests back and my hormones were just like totally whack, like really, really whack. My testosterone was 62, which the normal range I think is up to 40. I think the normal range is like 10 to 40 or something for females. And my testosterone was 62. And then I was saying to Radical Ramblings, oh, I'm like sick. I'm like suffering from PCOS. I'm sick. I'm suffering. I don't feel good. I know that that's part of the reason. I have other chronic issues, but I know like day to day, PCOS is like it like sucks for me, right? And my testosterone is 62. Now, TIFs, they inject testosterone, and they must have to inject it a lot too, because testosterone has a very short half-life. It has like an hour-long half-life. So I don't know, unless you're continuously injecting it, how you keep your levels up. But their aim is for their testosterone to test 300 to 1,000. So what I'm saying is the normal range is like 10 to 40 or something in women. I'm at 62. I'm suffering. I'm sick. I'm physically ill from PCOS. TIFs are injecting testosterone to get to a minimum of 300. They're getting beards. They're going bald. Their fat is redistributed. They lose fat in their face. They lose their period. Their vagina and uterus atrophies. They have ovary problems. How are they perceived? How are they considered healthy? How are they considered healthy? I'm sick at a testosterone level of 62. They're healthy men at a testosterone level of 300 because they have a beard, which a healthy man has a beard. They're going bald, which healthy men go bald. Their fat redistributes to male fat distribution. So I guess they're healthy men in that way. They lose their period. Well, healthy men don't get a period, so that's good, I guess. And like, it just doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. And I've always been so bothered by that. The total lack of logic as a person who has high testosterone and suffers. The idea that TIFs inject themselves with testosterone to reach this level that's like 5 times what I'm suffering with. Do you know what I mean? PCOS is a metabolic disorder. Yeah, I know. It's definitely like, and my glucose was normal, so that's good. My blood pressure is low. I have a condition that keeps my blood pressure low. So I don't know. Whoa, this is insane. Moon Moon says, had a tiffin yesterday, deep voice, fairly masculine, definitely on T, and was showing off her baby bump. I could tell she was smug, like, look, I'm a pregnant man. Like, no, you're abusing your baby. What is, oh my God, what? Whoa. There's so much to like unpack there, right? Oh man. Whoa. That's insane. Hey, existential. We're the same person. Yeah, these comments are crazy. I know a tiff is currently bouncing around neurologists. She had a stroke in her 20s trying to figure out if it's a brain issue or nerve issue. Still on that T though. How can we be thinking that these women are healthy? Oh, send the asteroid now, for real. Oh my gosh. I don't get it. I do not get it. We're literally making these women physically ill. Like, balding in a woman is not normal. I mean, you know, some hair loss as you age and stuff like that as you're much older. Balding, you know, some conditions cause hair loss, but really and truly going bald, and it's not alopecia or something like that, that's a sign you are really sick. Growing a full beard is a sign you are really sick. Losing your period is a sign you are really sick. So I can't believe we're like doing this, you know? Like Kai says, great comment. That's the scary part. They're so lost in their delusion. They don't see how much they're damaging themselves. And when they come to, it might be too late. Or like they don't care, you know? They're like willing to do it. A lot of detransitioners have mentioned how their hormone use brought up a lot of these issues for them. Shame on the doctors. I totally agree. I just truly do not understand how this is happening, like, at all from a medical standpoint and ethics and everything. I don't get it. Oh, this is interesting. Existential. I'm indifferent to harming yourself, but I hate hearing about the kids. I don't feel indifferent to people harming themselves. I think we should discourage people from harming themselves. I think if we can avoid, people can avoid it, that's good. Kids, the kid aspect is just very bad. It's very scary. Exactly, Tori. When has the medical consensus and protocol ever been to do whatever the patient says? It seems antithetical to the practice of medicine. And in fact, I've been to doctors who've like definitely not given me what I went there for, you know? I have anxiety. I take anxiety medication like literally a few times a year, but there have been times when I've asked for it from doctors and they've said, no, I won't give you that because what if you're a drug addict or something? So doctors just still to this day don't do, whatever the patient wants, except for in this case. It's just so weird. So weird. Have you seen that one study done on breastfeeding Tims, which essentially boiled down to they feel affirmed, so it's okay? I haven't seen that, and that sounds really disturbing. I don't know why, but I'm having trouble hearing my monitor. Oh, that's better. I think it's this. Oh, that's so much better. Probably doesn't sound any different to you, but so do we have anything else we want to talk about today? I'm thinking about doing yoga again tomorrow for anyone who might be interested in that. That was a fun, different experience for me last week. Probably stream some kind of video game on Sunday. I'm thinking man, this channel, what is this channel now? Like, it's just kind of all over the place. It's like yoga streams, these streams, some like feminist videos, totally randomly, sporadically, gaming. It's kind of just whatever I want to do. I really thinking about starting a new channel to do like just exclusively fitness stuff. But I don't want to go through the whole process of getting another channel monetized because it was so annoying to do that. Yeah, that it literally is whatever I want it to be. So we should start a group chat. Zay says, I wish I had a group chat. At pretty much every stream, somebody's like, do you have a Discord? No, and I'm not going to have one. But I really would like to do, have some of y'all on for a discussion and to hear your voices and that stuff on the stream. So, obviously you don't have to come on with a camera or anything. And if it would be more comfortable, I don't have to be on camera either. But could we work that out where some people want to say their piece on a topic? It can also be any topic we want to talk about. And I don't care if we agree 100% either. I would just love to hear your voices and stuff. So, yeah, I know it's scary. Like, I would be scared if I didn't do this all the time. I was scared at first. I used to get like the worst stomach aches after streaming. And yeah, this was me too. I was a lurker forever. Not even like just not making videos and stuff, but like, and I still to this day like lurk on Reddit and I lurk in places because I'm just like, everyone's so much smarter than me. But it just takes practice. That's all it is. It's just practice. And like, no one is going to judge you and we're all just going to have fun. So a call-in Friday stream or what? Existential says call-in Friday stream. Oop. If we go a couple at a time, it would be less scary. So if you like, just like have, one or two of you on at a time. Nobody's voice sounds stupid. Existential says Friday stream. No, I think it'd be really fun. I don't have anything like that in my life. I mean, I have you all, but like, it'd be cool to actually like listen to you and not talk for once. C says, I'm the age people will dox me and cancel me in the smallest spaces. I would watch a call-in stream. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yay, I'm glad you're not a lurker anymore. I feel like the thing with lurkers, because I've been a lurker, well, I feel like hopefully we only have benevolent lurkers here. Sometimes people lurk because they like hate the person or whatever. I hope we don't have any of those. But the other reason people lurk is because like, oh, the chat's going so fast and like everyone's just making these really, great comments and stuff. And you feel like you can't like jump in, or like what you say is not going to be important enough. And I just really want people to not feel that way. Saturday night stream. Okay. I like that too. Maybe we can do that. I'd like to announce it in advance. So I don't know if it would be tomorrow or next Saturday or some time, but I love that idea. Saturday Night Live would be great. I don't know, time zone wise, Saturday night for people in Europe is Saturday afternoon for people here. But maybe we could do like, what do you guys think of like 4 p.m. Eastern on a Saturday or something like that? Because that would be 6 p.m. for people in Europe. Or we could, or I'm sorry, it would be 10 p.m. for people in Europe. Or we could do, Saturday night New York time, like 8 p.m. Eastern or something like that. Let me know what you think. I wish so many RadFem spaces weren't lurking locked. Tumblr and Twitter are locked, so you only have a few forums and YouTube channels. Yeah. True. Tori says, I want to make content because the more RadFem content out there, the better, but I just need to do it. That would be awesome. I mean, based on all your comments here, I feel like you would have a lot to say and it would be a lot of great stuff. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. I try to encourage women whenever I possibly can. Yeah. Comrade Scar is an Alaskan living in chaos, living that chaos lifestyle. One of my dragons of chaos. 4 to 6 Eastern is good because it includes Americans and Canadians. Yeah, I think Saturday is like a good time for that. So I think that would be really good. I think we should try to do that. Cool. Well, I guess I'll wrap up now for now. I will try to be back in the morning for some yoga. I'm thinking, to me, okay, here's a thought I've been having the last week. If I can get women, like, I'm like, Radical and I talked about this a little bit, I think, either on our stream or after our stream, about, some people would be like, well, is a YouTube channel really like radical feminist activism or whatever? It's like, I really don't care what people think about that. But my feeling really is if I can get women to move and exercise, because fitness is something that I really care about a lot personally, but also it's like a massive source of empowerment for women. I feel like if I can get women to move their body in some way and have a healthy relationship with fitness, then I feel like I'm doing all the activism I need to be doing. So that is like just a thought that I've been having in a larger sense. I don't know if it's like, pivoting in that direction or something, but I do think it's like so important. So yeah, Lily says, I'd love to teach a group fitness class for all the guys here. That's what I'm saying. Expired milk. It's just so amazing that you did it. Yeah, it was kind of challenging. Maybe I'll do a little bit like easier flow or something. Yeah, like I feel like that's something that it's really important. A few people have been here and there have been like, "Oh, I've been inspired to work out from your videos and stuff." And it's like I want to do more of that. Yeah, and it's like I appreciate this too, that it's not easy. Like what is, for some women it's like things get in the way of focusing on our fitness and stuff. So like how can we eliminate those barriers so that we can be putting our fitness very high on our list of priorities? I understand that fully though. I've totally been in the same situation. Oh, thank you, Lily. That's so nice. I try to have everything like cued so you don't have to use blocks, but blocks are like I use blocks for everything in yoga because I just feel like they're super, super useful. But um, okay. Thank you all for joining me today and reading about Barbie. I thought the second article was really, really good. And the first article was kind of useless. Maybe I'll change the thumbnail so it reflects that we read the second article. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Thank you for spending Friday with me. I felt so chaotic and scattered coming into this, and I feel pretty relaxed now. So, if those of you who are seeing the Barbie movie this weekend, enjoy, and please come back and let us know how it was. And and the rest of you, I hope that you have a great weekend. And I will see you soon. Hopefully, for yoga tomorrow, it would be around 9 o'clock for those of you who want to catch it live. Otherwise, I will have it up. Yes, and I will put the link for the good article in as well for anyone who wants to check that out and share it, etc. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for spending the day with me.